Hello and welcome back to a very special episode of It Lurks Below. Wow, I just couldn't do that. So obviously we are very close to um, finishing up the game. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna have this paused in the background. I know that's gonna be a little bit weird, but bear with me because this is gonna be a little bit of a different episode, as I said. I know that we're very close to facing it, so to speak, the very last boss of the main campaign. So I thought we would talk a little bit about what the coming episodes will actually contain. So first off, this episode. Actually, we'll get to that, so ignore that for now. Once we've finished the it fight, if we manage to, I'm probably gonna get absolutely slaughtered. If when we finish the it fight, I'm gonna try to move into the Badlands content because the Badlands was kind of like a free expansion that came to this game, and that expansion, I don't even know how to start it, but I assume that it's just gonna be there as soon as I beat the main game. We'll have to see about that one. If not, I'm just gonna look it up or whatever. So, I've also shifted the release schedule of episodes just a little bit because, as you might have noticed or may not have noticed, depending on how closely you follow things, I have not been uploading on Saturdays anymore, and that was a planned shift. I wrote it down in a description recently, but then again, who reads the descriptions, right? So I know I do it like, I don't know, 10% of the time I watch a video, I read the descriptions. It's mainly if the video itself makes me question something, but so I don't assume that you watch it. But either way, the new schedule is going to be Mondays and Thursdays. This is for a couple of reasons. First of all, I have the next 2 or 3 weeks for me are gonna be hectic in the school department. We are finishing up the two courses that I'm currently studying and or that I'm enrolled in, so to speak. And there's like a final test, and there's the repetition of all that we've learned throughout the course. And I have a horrible memory, so I have to repeat it all again. And so I have a lot to do, and it's in two courses at the same time. So yeah, I'm mostly going to be studying. So I needed to slow down just a little bit. Spending like it takes roughly 2 hours to prepare a video because you have to record it. Then you might need to edit it. It depends on whether I did a cut in the video or if I need to speed something up or whatever happens. And then obviously I need to render it, I need to upload it, and I need to, like on YouTube, I need to add tags, a description, need to add it to the playlist, need to make a thumbnail, although the thumbnail is just pretty much copy and paste, so that takes like 2 minutes or something. But all in all, it's a little bit of a time commitment, and I don't always have 2 consecutive hours to work on videos every day. Well, even sometimes during like once or twice a week, maybe. It depends. So, with that out of the way, now that you're caught up, this video is actually going to be quite different in the fact that it's not really going to have any major gameplay. Because I ended up going out and finding the last two lore pieces that we were missing from the lore tab. So, if we go into the game here, you can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, we have every single one of the lore pages now. So I thought we would go through them and talk about them a little bit, because this will add a lot of context, hopefully, to the last fight that we're about to get into. So see it as sort of a context for, or like a prequel to this to the last fight that we're about to get into. And with that said, I thought we would do a little bit of a recap because when we first started this series, there was like an introductory cutscene, and that cutscene essentially was someone talking to us, telling us that he had to sacrifice himself to save us because well, the demons could be defeated, as he said, and it was apparently up to us to do that, and because we were better at fighting, I guess, than he was. So he sacrificed himself, took our place, and he tells us that the lore notes will tell us everything. So that's the first thing that is good to know. The lore notes will tell us everything. Now, the second thing is that he also says that the demons will know we are coming. He will have no choice but to tell them. And with that in mind, that sounds a little bit to me like the demons will have taken him over, possessed him, corrupted him, whatever you want to call it. So it is very possible, in fact, that he will be some kind of boss in the future. We might have to fight our old friend or whoever that was that saved us, because he spoke in sort of a familiar way when it came to like addressing us and stuff. So I think that we're about to find out who he is, perhaps, and what the It actually is and what the whole invasion is about. So without further ado, let's get into it. There's been a lot of talking already, and we're not even started. All right, so the first log we've already read once, but we're gonna read it again just for the sake of consistency and in case you have forgotten. Missive received from the Elven Prime. They mentioned something about unrest in the mountain region. It is too vague to know for certain what is happening. Disappointing, as I hoped we had built more trust, at least within the craft. This news makes me uneasy. I'm not sure why. Hopefully it's nothing. Our cities are just beginning to recover. Trade routes are finally safe again. Humanity is showing signs of hope. I'm sending back offers of aid, but truly hope it will not be needed. We do not have much to spare. The last war depleted us more than I care to admit. Sending a missive to the Ogre Prime. Maybe they will have more insight. So, the Elven Prime, which I suppose is their leader, sent... since he said that the notes will tell us everything, I assume that this is our friend that is writing this. So, he was apparently some high-up guy or girl. It must be a guy. He sounded like a guy in the cinematic. And he had contact with the Elven and Ogre Primes. And the Elven Prime mention unrest in the mountain region. I don't know what the craft is that he's mentioning. Maybe it's some kind of wizardry craft or something that they're comrades in or whatever. And otherwise, anything worthy of noting, humanity is showing signs of hope. I am sending back offers of aid, but truly hope it will not be needed. The last war depleted us. Okay, so there's been a war. Okay. Alright. Ogre Prime responded with similar concerns. They too received a very vague message from the Elven Prime. While they have seen a few elf refugees, the ogre cities are still unaffected. They write of whispers heard in the city. The rumors speak of plague and monsters, or monstrous plague. Truly, this lack of information is maddening. Still no word from the Elven Prime, so I'm sending an emissary to hand-deliver a message. At least that way I will have some guarantee of information upon their return. Okay, not much to go over there, really. The elves fled to the ogre cities as well. Elf refugees have started arriving in our city. So many refugees, and yet not a single one of them is my emissary. It has been too long. I fear the worst and must assume that the emissary is lost. Speaking with the refugees has confirmed my worst fears. This is not a plague, but some sort of invasion. Hideous monsters are raiding from below. We're taking in as many refugees as we can, but our city was already struggling. Many have been guided to other cities and farmland as we continue to try and find space and feed everyone. I have also begun discussions of fortification. The elves were clearly surprised and underprepared. We will not be. Okay, so obviously, I'm gonna talk a little bit about it while we just pick up the food here and stuff, because as you can tell, we're hungry. And that's probably gonna happen a couple of times while we're doing this. So, the way I interpret this is that we are human, and now we are taking in 11 refugees from the cities that were invaded from below. So now we're starting to see the signs of what we're actually fighting in the lore. Let's eat this. How are we on hunger? Okay, we're not that great, to be honest. Okay, that will have to do. Okay. And he's preparing for whatever it is that is coming, obviously. It is no longer just elves that are arriving at our city gates. Ogre refugees have joined them. There are only a few, but it does explain why I have not heard anything from the Ogre Prime. I can only hope my missive with information regarding the invasion and fortification arrived in time. News from the Ogre refugees is not good. More stories of monsters bursting forth from the ground. Where are they coming from? Have they always been here? How have we lived on the surface of our worlds for so long without knowing of the horror that lived below us? I have so many questions and still so few answers. Okay, starting to ramp up a little bit. Now the Ogre city seems to have been invaded as well. Our city is overrun with refugees, humans, ogres, and elves. We're trying our best to accommodate for everyone, while focusing on building as many fortifications and defenses as we can. Many of our new citizens, armed with their knowledge of the enemy, have joined our efforts. One interesting piece of information that may prove important is that the monsters seem to corrupt the ground they walk on. I have not yet found a way to remove this corruption, but I'm determined to find a solution. Perhaps we can stop their advance if we can stop the corruption. We are the last bastion standing. We will stop the enemy here. We must protect what remains of our civilization. So, the last bastion standing, while there may be some refugees or whatever scattered around the world, or maybe not, humanity's bastion, or our capital city, I suppose, seems to be the last thing standing. The elves is assumed to be eradicated here, aside from the refugees, and same goes for the ogres. So, obviously at this point, humanity is the main population of the world, aside from the monsters, obviously. Our city was brutally attacked just days ago. The new fortifications fell as if they had never existed. The monsters seemed to know all of our defenses as if they knew exactly what to avoid and how to bypass every single trap. Did they actually know? And if so, how did they know? Even worse, they appeared to be invulnerable to all of our attacks. How can we defeat a force that we cannot damage? We had no choice but to flee, leaving the city in ruins. I am defeated and left with more questions than answers. I was able to salvage much of my research and bring it with me. I must find a solution to the corruption before all of our cities fall. This cannot be the end. Okay, so all of our cities fall. It wasn't the last bastion then. Or maybe bastion just refers to any place that is actually capable of defending itself in this particular situation. But yeah. So we had to leave the city. I guess we have not really come into the picture yet, the main character. I have retreated to my former university. Here I have all the tools I need to continue my research, now that my workshop has been destroyed. Hopefully being further away from the front lines will give me the time I need to continue my work and find solutions. I'm not the first to find refuge here. A former colleague arrived before me, great minds after all. We have decided to combine our efforts. While I've been focusing on the corruption, they have been studying demon species and managed to capture a specimen. It is a small demon with horns, reddish skin, and for unknown reason speaks our language. My colleague explained that it often refuses to speak and seems to be immune to all forms of coercion and magic. The creature proclaimed their steadfast loyalty to the It clan, and that we were soon to perish in the continuing onslaught. At least the cage does seem to be holding tight. Alright. Yeah, okay. Not much to say. He met a colleague at his former university, and they have a specimen of demons. That can't go wrong, can it? We finally discovered a way to clear the corruption. Having the demon specimen on hand was a vital component of my research. It would have taken me years without this incredible collaboration. And yet, clearing the corruption failed to stop the demon horde from advancing. 2 more cities have fallen. Our people, our civilization, and our world is dying. My hope is dying. That's understandable. Seems to be a bit of a pickle. My colleague finally roused me out of my misery. They had made an enormous breakthrough in their demon communication research. Their theory was that the demon had been communicating with its leader the entire time. It was spying on us. I was aghast at this notion, for we have spoken freely about much of our research and tactics in the room that held the demon. My colleague was quick to mention that I had not done my corruption research in that room. Yes, I had collected data, but not actually shared any pertinent information. They set a trap by bragging to the demon about a corrupted area that would soon be cleansed, and how the 3 races were fighting back and winning. To prove their theory, all they had to do was to wait for the demons to show up at the specified time and place. Happily, the demons obliged. Truth be told, I was not exactly sure what we could do with this information, but it did bring me a modicum of hope. Now we just had to find a way to use this to our advantage. Okay. I'm still waiting to see how we come into the picture here. But at least now we know quite a bit more about our world. But not as much about what the it beneath the surface actually is. And all of that. Oh, that's not identified. Let's see. Seems decent. Okay, anyway, let's get back to it. Of course, the surface has been invaded. Holy crap. Progress is slow. The demon specimen resists almost all of our magic. Another city has fallen, and we're hearing sounds of war as the front line advances towards us in the wilderness. My colleague has presented a possible solution, but I've dismissed it as too dangerous, too perilous. We have argued much. Every day that we fail to find an alternate idea brings us closer to this proposed solution, no matter how much I despise it. I fear we are out of time and I must relent. Okay, let's see what the solution is. The deed is done. Utilizing the demon specimen as a conduit, we devised an incantation that would transfer my colleague's essence into the demon collective. It's a terrible thing we have done. I do not know what horrors my colleague will experience, or if I will ever see them again. Now I sit and wait and hope. So this makes it sound as if we are, in fact, his colleague. We were actually a researcher to begin with. So that seems to be our backstory. Alright. I've been taking furious notes for the past few days. My colleague has managed to communicate. The reverse spying is working. The demons do have weaknesses. They can be defeated. I must get back to work and bring these notes into my research and crafting. So, by actually sort of becoming a demon, we managed to figure out how to defeat them. But that makes me think that our powers that we're using, like my lightning and stun and all of that stuff, it is probably actually a demonic power. I have not slept in, I don't remember. Integrating the new information from my colleague into my work has allowed us to pierce the demon's immunity. No longer are they impervious to our magic and weapons. I've only run small tests on the captured demon specimen. They've all been successful, yet I hesitate to perform larger scale tests. Damaging the specimen beyond repair would render my colleague's return impossible. Oh. Thus far we have been spared demon invasion in our remote location, but I saw corruption on the horizon this morning. My chance to test out the weapons on a larger scale might happen sooner than I would like, but doesn't matter. Our last city has fallen. Are we too late? Have the demons won? So that is where the lore pages end. Clearly, we don't necessarily have to be the colleague of his, because it was only his essence that was transferred into the demon. And of course, he is hoping for him to return. The demon, as far as I interpreted it, seems to still have the same looks. It just has his colleague within it. So we are not that demon. That we do not have demonic powers either, as far as I understood, because it said our magic and our weapons. So it does seem as if the magic and the weapons existed beforehand. They have just been infused with some kind of magic or knowledge that made us pierce the demon's immunity to our weapons and magic. With that in mind, didn't really tell us too much about the it that we're about to fight, sadly. But it does raise the stakes of our fight, because we weren't really sure if we were like one of the last people alive, although the tone certainly seems to dictate that that is the case. We are clearly like humanity's last hope, essentially. So yeah, those are the stakes. And now we have to end the corruption once and for all, and we're gonna do that in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one. Bye bye.